Hi, I'm John Moran, and this is 707. My guest today is Richard Lasovic. Where does that originate from, the name?
It's Russian, Ukrainian, that region.
Wherever you want it to be
Wherever
from?
you want it to be, it depends. They came over, the name gets changed when you come to the United States.
Of course.
So it was really something more like Losovic, but very similar.
Okay.
And that was, my grandfather came over during the Russian programs back
the
in the early
1918?
1908 around.
Of the pogroms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my grandparents, my dad grew up in Brooklyn, which is where my parents lived, his parents. And my mom came over from Austria during World War II in 1938 timeframe. So she was about 3 years old.
Okay.
And they had family in upstate New York, the Utica, Syracuse area.
Okay.
And then she moved down to Manhattan and
The big lights.
big lights, exactly. And my mom and dad met when they were at camp in upstate New York. And they went to camp together and they got married and settled in. When they first got married, they moved to California. And then as soon as they were about to have kids, they quickly moved back to the East Coast, to New Jersey, so they could be with family.
Well, I thought it was because they wanted to go to good schools. Sorry.
Oh, that's the reason, yes, of course.
And what did your parents do?
My dad was an engineer,
Uh-huh.
and then he went into marketing, communications, public relations. And my mom was a school teacher, and she's always loved that. And to this day, even though she's retired, we grew up in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, which is close to Princeton. And there's a lot of visiting professors and families who come to Princeton University.
Mm-hmm.
So she loves languages, and she helps teach the visiting spouses how to speak English as a language, conversational English for the visiting professors
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
And so she just has a great time because she gets to listen to the stories about Europe and the other countries and learn their language. And at the same time, she's going to teach them all the idioms and quirks and stuff that the English language has.
She teaches them street language.
She's not going to put it that way, but yeah.
She does. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if
She's
you're on the East Coast, she'll need a lot of that. Does she live here now?
No, that my family, my parents still live in New Jersey in the house that they built when I was born. And although my dad's not an architect, he did design and architect the house and then that they still live in to this day.
Custom made.
Yep.
For the Lusovics.
For the Lasovics.
Lasovics, yeah. Oh, yeah. Why did I get a U in there somehow? So there's a lot of misconceptions about New Jersey, as you know. Most of them to do with Sopranos or even before that.
I focus
Are they wrong?
There's truth to a lot of it, but it's not something that really was something I noticed or paid attention to. I was more into things like Bruce Springsteen and Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes and going to Great America. I always get confused between Great America and Great Adventure. Oh. Because one's on the West Coast, one's on the East. But we went to Great Adventure on the East Coast a lot, Atlantic City, the beach. The boardwalk system there is just amazing.
Yeah, apparently. Do you ever see Empire Boardwalk? Do you ever watch that program?
I haven't watched that program.
Well, I don't know whether it's a postcard from New Jersey, but it's a very good series. So you're not in New Jersey anymore?
No. Unfortunately, to my parents' chagrin, all three of us moved away.
All to the same place?
No. I moved to Northern California, and on the exact same day, my older sister moved to Southern California. Totally coincidental. I drove cross country. She flew.
You weren't living in the same house?
When
You and your
moved-
sister?
When we moved cross country?
Well, no, when she went south and you went north?
No, I was coming from school.
Oh, I see.
And then I took a job out here, and so I came out here to the job up north. And she had gotten married and was with her husband, boyfriend at the time, and they moved to Southern California.
Okay.
And then my younger sister moved to Long Island.
Not too far.
Not too far. It's 2.5 hours.
And what do they all do?
My younger sister is a teacher. She teaches, I think, reading, special ed. And my older sister I believe she's an administrative assistant.
Are you? Are you? Contact Richard, please, and let him know what you do.
I talk to them all the time, but I really don't even know what they do.
Oh,
I'm embarrassed
That's
to
a
say.
brother for you. Okay, so when you came out here, you got a job.
Right.
What was the job?
Okay. So I went to Cornell University as an electrical engineer, and I co-opted out here at National Semiconductor. So it's like an internship while I was still in school.
Gotcha.
And then after graduation, although I had a lot of job offers, I liked that one the best. And so I came out here and I worked for National Semiconductor.
Okay. Did you get that? You said your father was.
Was an engineer also.
Did you get that from him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it fascinate you as a kid?
Oh, I loved it. Growing up as a kid, I was always building things in the basement, fixing neighbors' appliances, and making money at it by the age of 10.
Making money?
Yeah, they would pay me. They'd say, "Oh, this is broken." You know, I'd fix it for them.
What, for a dime?
$5, $10, which was good money for, you know, 10-year-old, 15-year-old,
Right.
especially back in the. I don't even want to say when it was.
Go on.
But, you know,
Say it. Go on.
back in the 60s.
Back in the 60s, the wonder decade, where everybody forgot things. And did you make a lot of money?
Well, I was happy with it. It was, you know, good money, but
Yeah.
I couldn't put a number on it.
No?
Not
You haven't got it
today.
stashed away somewhere.
It's been spent many times over.
Okay, and how long have you worked? Or did you work, or have you worked, or have you been working for the company that you started with?
Okay, so I worked at National Semiconductor, and when I was in college, I promised myself I would work for about 5 years and then get my MBA.
Okay, let's come back to that.
Okay.
We're talking with Richard Lazovic from New Jersey, now here. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back to 707. My guest is Richard Lazovic, who is, well, we could say an engineer. And we've just found him in Northern California, working for a company. Take us from there.
Okay, so the quick version is I worked at National Semiconductor for 5 years and then went and got my MBA at UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business.
Cool.
After that, I worked at Zilog for a short time and then worked at a startup and then worked with an inventor for a year, and that was a lot of fun.
Why?
Just because it really got to use my creative skills. I got to use my business skills by doing patents and product searches and marketing plans. But I really love tinkering and building and doing things with my hands
So
and
he
electronics.
had the ideas, you put them into practice.
People would come to us with their ideas,
Oh.
and he or I would evaluate them and take it from there. And then
Okay.
we'd build prototypes for them if we thought the idea was worthwhile. So I got to build a lot of prototypes and learn how to kind of fast prototype.
And you're still at
designs.
Semiconductor.
This was the job itself. So this was a separate job.
Okay.
And then I went and worked for the same company where my wife at that time was working,
Yeah.
which was a startup. And I worked there for 5 years. I forget exactly.
Okay.
Worked there for a while. And that was great. And then at the time my son was born, the company had a huge layoff where they had to lay off half the workforce.
How coincidental.
I know. It was kind of, I call it the perfect storm, because I was really tired of the corporate world. My son was born. I wanted to take time off to be with him. And the company was laying off half of their staff.
Okay.
And my project was let go, hers was kept.
All right. And at about that time, something went wrong.
Yes.
When was the first indication for you that things weren't quite right?
Well, I hadn't had a physical in a long time. Went to the doctor, got a physical, and he said, this certain blood test is showing that things are heading in the wrong direction. Things are okay now, but we have to keep an eye on it. And so I'd go back and get that test done every 6 months.
Did that worry you, or?
It started to. At first I didn't think it was a big deal because he didn't make it sound like a big deal. But at a certain point he said, we need to connect you with a nephrologist. This is
A what?
a nephrologist,
Which is?
which is a kidney doctor, a renal doctor.
Did you know what that meant at the time?
Well, yes, because what he actually said was
He's a kidney
something's
doctor.
going to be going wrong with your kidneys,
Okay.
and we need to take care of it as soon as possible.
All right.
So I got connected to the nephrologist, and we did what we could, which is mostly watching my diet and salt and water intake.
What did they say? They said something to do with your kidneys, but they didn't say they were degrading.
They said the kidneys are degrading, and there's a certain blood test which they use to track that. And at a certain point, it's not a big deal because you come with 2 kidneys, you can live with just one,
Right.
and you live a perfectly healthy, normal life.
Yeah.
Some people only have 1 kidney and don't even know it, unless they get tested or there's a reason.
Is
why.
that a natural? Is that?
Yeah, that's natural. Some people, most people are born with 2. Some people happen to be born with 1.
Go on.
So anyway, the doctor, I was watching everything. The nephrologist said to be careful. We watched it, and we would track it, and he would look at the charts and say, okay, you've got 8 years, you got plenty of time. And then I went back to him a few months later, and he goes, oh, you still have plenty of time. It's 1.5 years away. I went
A
back
year and a half away from what?
from when I'm going to have to start dialysis.
Okay.
In that time, I had a biopsy to try to figure out what's wrong. And they can only tell me what's wrong, but they don't know what's causing it or what caused it.
Right.
And at this point, my dad had kidney failure also.
Oh.
And he had 1 transplant. And I was lucky I was able to find a donor for him from California, even though he lives in New Jersey.
Okay.
And that transplant worked for a long time for him. And then eventually, because his was a special situation, did not last forever.
Okay.
So he's on dialysis. Anyway, I went back east for a vacation, came back, and I said, I think there's something wrong. This was after the doctor said I have 18 months before I'll need dialysis.
Who did you say this to?
I said this to the doctor.
Oh, okay.
I said, something's wrong. And, well, actually, when he said 18 months, he said, you've got a long time. It's 18 months away. I said, that's until I need dialysis. And I go, that's right away. That's around the corner. Yeah. I thought I had 8 years. And anyway, I came back from vacation, and he looked at me, and he goes, you need to have surgery this week, and we have to start dialysis right away.
And what surgery would you have had, or did you have?
So there's 2 types of dialysis,
Yeah.
hemodialysis and peritoneal. And so I chose the peritoneal. And
Do you
so
have a choice, or?
Well, you do have a choice if the doctor says you do. And so he said I have both, since I was in good shape and healthy enough otherwise. So I could do
So
peritoneal.
is it a different method of dialysis?
They're completely different,
They are.
the 2 methods of dialysis. Do you want me
How
to?
did you know which one to choose?
I went to a training class, where they describe them to you, and they talk about the pros and the cons of each of them. So if you want, I can go into
Just a little
quick-
bit, yeah, if you can. I mean, it's a big subject. but-
Hemodialysis is the kind most people are aware of, and that's where they stick a needle in your arm, and they circulate the blood through a machine. You're in the dialysis center. It takes 4 hours, and So you sit there for 4 hours in the machine 3 times a week, and they're cleaning out the blood. Peritoneal dialysis, I have a tube which goes into my stomach. It's a permanent tube. And then I have a connector on it. And you put dialysate liquid into the peritoneal, which is a sac around the organs in your body. And through osmosis, that liquid absorbs the toxins and extra water through the peritoneal. And then after you let it dwell for a while, an hour to 3 hours to 4 hours, you drain that liquid out and you put new liquid in and you start the process over again. So your body is constantly dialyzing. But when you say I'm doing dialysis, you're doing that exchange of
You're
fluids.
basically changing what?
The dialysate, the fluid, which is basically a sugar water solution.
And what are the toxins that cause kidney failure?
Well, your body stops filtering everything.
Okay.
So you're getting at what toxins you can. The kidneys will balance things like phosphorus, potassium, and calcium. And if those aren't in balance, then your bones get very brittle. Other things start to happen to your parathyroid. You start to think unclearly. You know, you've got too many toxins.
So the kidneys work as a filter.
The kidneys work as a filter, and they also work to balance everything else within your body.
Right.
They're very vital and very critical organ that has a lot of functions to it.
So
It's one of the more complex organs in the body.
And the liquid that is inserted in you is an aid to that,
Right.
in order for them to accept that here's something we've got to get rid of. This is the way we do it.
Right. The kidney's not getting rid of it, so the dialysate gets rid of that and the excess water, since you don't urinate normally.
Right. No, I understand. Okay, well, let's come back to that. We'll be right back. Do not turn off. Hi, you're welcome back to 707. We're talking to Richard Lazovic. Go from where we left off. You're told that 18 months, you are now on peritoneal dialysis. When did that start, essentially?
So about 2.5 years ago is when I had the surgery to do the peritoneal dialysis. And my sister was going to be very helpful, and so she wanted to come up and take care of me after the surgery. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I had the surgery. She got here, and she was throwing up on the plane and throwing up when she got here. And instead of me taking care of her, I had to drive her to the emergency room. It turns out she had appendicitis. Anyway, so I ended up taking care of her while she stayed here until she could
And
go.
you were saying, don't you know how sick I am?
And I could barely move myself. I wasn't supposed to. But anyway, that's a side story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a shock to me. Right. To me, I felt kind of almost like a robot. I felt, because I had this tube coming out of my stomach. My whole life had changed. I didn't know what to do from it. And everybody kept reminding me, I have my son, and he needs me, and I've got to be there for everything. Right. And that's what really had gotten me through the hard times, is knowing that I had my son there, and I wanted to
be a future for.
A future for. And I can't put into words how much I have always loved my son and how connected I am to him. And
he understands.
He understands what's going on, and he's supportive and stuff. It's hard on him too.
He's a kid.
He's a kid. I can't do, and it hurts me. I can't do a lot of the things with him that I want to be able to do, and that would be nice. But fortunately, he gets to do those through his mom and through other people.
Sure. Do you think
do it for him?
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think that it's made him a more mature boy, in a way?
Well, he's always been very mature, so it's hard to say. I mean, I do put a lot onto him, and I rely on him, and he's extremely helpful. Fortunately, he's a very conscientious and smart kid.
Wow. So got it from somewhere.
I'm lucky. And I'm starting to tear up. I apologize.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that.
No, that's okay.
So, carry on.
So, anyway, it took a while to get used to being on dialysis. I mean, it changed my life. There's a whole pattern to it. I need to do it every afternoon between 12 and 4. I've got to do my dialysis exchange, and then every night I've got to hook up, set up my machine, which takes 20 minutes, half an hour, and then I'm connected to it for the entire night. So I've got this tube coming out of me. Got to be careful how many times I roll over one way, how many times I roll over the other. And it runs for 7.5 hours, and in the morning I got to get up, and before I can go do something, I have to disconnect. Also, it's not like a simple thing where I just connect up to the machine, but I get a large amount of supplies for it, so I have to be home for that delivery. And when I say a large amount,
I saw a picture.
There's a picture of it.
Yeah.
And it's a full pallet. If you're used to, shipments on a truck, this huge moving truck comes and it downloads a full pallet of boxes, and then it comes and it fills up my one whole wall in my room.
And it doesn't come from Costco.
No. Yeah. So, my room is a regular room lined with boxes.
I'm going to be showing a picture of your room and the boxes.
And then I have to recycle the boxes after. Anyway, but what I learned, I learned that everybody has something going on that they have to deal with, and that I can't let this define who I am and everything else.
Right.
I deal with it, and I'm really looking for a donor, a live donor, and we can get into that discussion.
Yeah, well, it's whenever you can.
Okay. But like I said, it doesn't define me.
No, I know.
And I joined Rotary, and I really enjoy Rotary. It's a giving place, and I get to do a lot for them and see what other people are going through and help that I can give to people in the community. But in my case, I need a kidney. And the dialysis is working for now, but it limits me in a lot of what I can do and how I can do it. And there's no saying how long that this form of dialysis will work for me, or any form of dialysis. And what I need to do is to get a kidney. Now, the first question people always ask is, are you on the list? And the answer is yes, I'm on the list, but the wait is still about 6 years for me. And that's a long time, because you never know what's going to happen between now and then, and everything I have to deal with anyway. But even more so, the list is for cadaver kidneys. And
just explain that.
A cadaver kidney is you wait for somebody to die for whatever reasons, and if, for instance, on your driver's license, you say you're going to be a donor, they can take the kidney and help save someone's life. And that's a great thing. That's awesome. But especially for someone my age and my health, otherwise I'm very healthy, a live kidney is much, much better, because the benefits and the longevity are nearly twice as good as that of a cadaver kidney. So it'll last a lot longer for me, and I'll feel a lot better with the live kidney than with the cadaver kidney.
Right.
And even though sometimes I'll look at it and I'll go, oh, I can get by with the dialysis, I'm okay. Everybody I've spoken to has said, from the moment that new kidney is put in you and you wake up on the operating table, you feel 100 times better.
No doubt.
You just feel so much better, and it's just so worthwhile. It's so necessary and such a benefit to you to have that happen.
How have you been putting the word out about what you need?
Well, it's kind of hard because I'm here doing this interview, but I'm really, not only am I shy, but I'm a very private person.
I understand.
I don't like talking about it. I've had to learn to kind of overcome that. So, through my synagogue and other religious organizations, I've had announcements made, and I've had flyers, passed around. Right. I've posted flyers in different places.
Is this one of them?
This is the latest flyer.
Let's hold it up.
Yes.
That's one. Can you get this? Just close in on it a little. Zoom in, my friend. Okay. No, zoom out. That's it.
So you can see that's a partial supply of boxes. I get more than that now each month, every month. And that's me with my son, and my son with Maya Dorado. She came to visit his high school.
Olympic swimmer?
The Olympic swimmer. She came to visit Maria Carrillo right after school started this year. So there's the flyers, which I try to pass out where I can. I teach classes, technology classes, and so at the end I kind of change the subject and tell people about this. And usually they're shocked because, you know,
you're a normal guy.
I look like a normal guy otherwise. Like, oh, you look so healthy. And I really plan my day around what I'm doing, because I get very tired and I have to go do my dialysis and other stuff. And so I let people see me during those few hours when I'm feeling good, and I make sure I time it that way.
Good.
I've also posted it on Facebook, and I'm looking for more ways to get the word out now to try and...
I, in a way, I really don't know what to say. If you can help, will you please contact either us? You can contact me at jmoran@CMedia Labs. That's CMEDIALABS.org. Or Richard has his own details on how to get in contact with him. So if you want to...
Okay. You can send me an email at kidney@richard... Sorry, I forgot my own email address. Richard@akidneyforrichard.com. And the website is akidneyforrichard.com. Again, that's akidneyforrichard.com is the website. And you can also call me at 707-595-0866. And that website has my contact information. It tells you where to go if you want to be a donor. And it answers a lot of questions about what I'm going through and what it takes to be a donor in the process.
That's
so
it.
I hope that helps. But anyway, like I said, I hate asking. I'm not the type of person to ask for things. In this case, I've been told I need to make an exception. And so any help is greatly appreciated.